This video is about the story out of Hoover, Alabama, which is a suburb of Birmingham, Alabama, and it's about Carlee Russell. This has been a very polarizing story, and I think that I'm gonna give more clarity to my views on her story, her going missing and then being found, and just kind of give my storyline of how I came to the conclusions that I came to. And then I want to talk about a broader issue connected to this story in particular. So let me start it off by saying, this lady's been missing. Well, she was missing for, several days. And I found out about her case maybe about 4 days ago or so. I heard about it. And initially, like most people, react, I wanted her to be found safe and sound and return home, point blank, period. Now, I kept hearing about it. So I kept seeing other, media personalities discussing it, talking about the disparity of how Black women don't get, as much love in the media when they're missing as white women or little white girls and so on and so forth. And just how they thought that was, they wanted this case in particular to get way more coverage than apparently it was getting. But I was seeing it everywhere, so it was getting a good amount of coverage. So I decided, you know what, let me look this up. Let me go and read about it to find out more about the scenario, the timeline of what happened. So I went and started reading about it. And so one of the first things I read was that Carlee initially made contact with police. She called Hoover PD and claimed that while she was on the interstate, the 459 interstate, that she got very specific. She said she saw a white male toddler, okay, like a 2 or 3-year-old in a diaper, walking along the interstate or near the interstate, something along those lines. Okay, that's very specific. Okay, so I'm like, all right, you saw that. Well, police get there, which was like in under 4 minutes. Okay, it's a great response. There's no Carlee, there's no child. Okay, so I'm keep reading the story, and then it goes to another topic of a story. I'm like, okay, well, no, what about this toddler? Okay, who else saw the toddler? I'm just my initial thought was like, who else called in to report a toddler walking along the interstate? There's no way that this Carlee lady was the only person out of all these hundreds of cars that's riding by on the interstate that saw this child, that saw specifically a white male toddler in a diaper. No other person called to report that there was a child walking along the interstate. Only Carlee did. That's a big red flag. That alone almost destroys the whole scenario of what apparently allegedly happened, because that makes zero sense. But then keep going, and the sister was apparently on the phone, so she called the police and she called her sister as well. And so she's talking to her sister. Her sister says she can hear Carlee ask the child, are you okay? But she couldn't hear the child respond. But she heard Carlee. So Carlee was close enough, allegedly, to the child to ask the child without screaming, because she didn't say she screamed or yelled, like the child was a long way away from her. She's apparently close enough within a few arms, reach, that she said, "Are you okay?" And that she couldn't hear the child say anything. But then there was like a loud sound, like a shout or a scream or something, and then the phone disconnected. Okay. So like I said, then following that, the police got there. No Carlee, no child. And immediately it went from it went from that happening, the police getting called about this child, to now Carlee Russell has been abducted. She's been kidnapped, taken. That was the scenario that a lot of media outlets pushed. That was the scenario a lot of people on social media pushed. But there was no evidence to prove that, and the police didn't push that idea. The media pushed that. So there again, so if she was close enough to ask the child to, are they okay, then she couldn't just pick the child up and hold the child for 3 minutes until police got there, because they got there very fast, under 4 minutes. She couldn't hold the toddler off on the shoulder in the grass, or even got in her car or something. Like, there's nothing else that could have happened. She couldn't have done that. But instead, there was no child there. There was no Carlee there. Okay, big red flag. And also on that 911 call, which called Hoover PD, she didn't report that, hey, I saw a vehicle, near the child. She didn't say that. So how would somebody just randomly have kidnapped her? She would have seen another vehicle, and she would have, most people with common sense would say, yeah, I saw a child, but I also saw a car. Like, maybe, I don't know if they had a wreck or blowout or something, but there's something, a car is here. Besides me, there's another vehicle. And that's just weird. It's just all around weird already. So you go along, and I'm like, this is not adding up. It's not adding up at all. And the family pushed this whole, she's being abducted, and it's very careless. It's careless to just run with that scenario, but Hoover PD wasn't running with that scenario. They were just saying, hey, there's a missing lady, there's a manhunt for a person who took her. That wasn't what was put out. But people who just aren't thinking, who are just reacting, are just like, yeah, she got abducted, and they're just running with that idea because the sister or whoever claimed that she was on the phone with Carlee, said, this is what happened, and it's nobody's really looking at logic or looking at the facts of what they have versus what we don't have. So I started questioning it, right? So I posted about it. I said, look, this is very questionable. Too many red flags. This scenario is not real. What is being put out into the media, what the media has been pushing, is not real. And a lot of people had pushback on that. They were like, you don't know all the situation. You're prejudging the situation. You should wait until everything comes out. I'm like, but you're not waiting until everything comes out. Like, everybody just saying that she got abducted and kidnapped. You're not paying attention, and you're not waiting for the evidence to come out. You're just running with what you think happened. Well, likewise, I'm looking at the facts of the situation, and I'm saying, based on the facts of what we know, what we don't know, this is a fake scenario. That's what I'm saying about it. So you're saying what you're saying about it. I'm saying what I'm saying about it. Right? So don't tell me to not have an opinion about it, because you're giving your opinion. So anyway, of course, everybody knows by now, Carlee Russell popped up, came home on her own accord, right? No group of people, no person, individual called and said, hey, we want such and such amount of money for Carlee. We want this or we want that in her safe return. None of that happened, right? She came back home. Nothing has come out and said where she stated anything about, where she was, what kind of house she was in, a building was she in, was she chained up, what kind of vehicle took her. None of this has come out, because guess what? She wasn't kidnapped.